In today's era of motion pictures, it's all about reboots, rewrites, and a ton, and I do mean a ton, of sequels. Hey everybody, how's it going? Shaun here. Welcome to another episode of Disneyland at Home. As you can see, I am actually in front of my Disneyland display because I am not at Disneyland right now. And I'm just going to start this off by saying that I will be talking to you guys my top 5 favorite sequels from Disney's past. You know, as I was looking through the list of Disney movies, I had to say that maybe for the Disney movies, they started making sequels like in the early 90s because Disney was not really doing a whole bunch of sequels because I guess they didn't really believe in sequels. Anyways, let's just cut the chit-chat and just start off with movie number 5, and that happens to be Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco. It's basically the story of 2 dogs and a cat lost in San Francisco, plain and simple, although they do have a bunch of adventures. There was a Homeward Bound movie that was released maybe, I think in 94 or 95, that was called just Homeward Bound, An Incredible Journey. So basically, in this story, Lost in San Francisco, it takes place years after the first Homeward Bound film. It's supposed to be about a family that's supposed to go off, I believe it was to Canada, and they're in the airport. The dogs are having a little bit of a fit because they're in the airport, and they see all these characters, and they think they're being taken to the pound, so they escape, and a whole story ensues in terms of trying to get back home. It's really just a funny film. I actually saw this out in the theaters with my family, and it was a fun film. It's one of the better sequels that I think is out there. So if you haven't seen Homeward Bound 1 or 2, go and check them out, and you'll have a lot of fun with them, trust me. Okay, don't hate me for this, guys, because this one, movie number 4, is actually a princess film. And no, it's not Pocahontas 2. It's Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. Now, why in the world is this one in my list? How come it's not Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True? Well, here's the thing. I saw Cinderella 2, most of it, and I was like, this is okay for a sequel. But it didn't feel like a good sequel, in my opinion, for Cinderella. And I was kind of skeptical at first to watch Cinderella 3. I actually have the DVD right over here, where it's both films in 2 DVDs, basically. So I watched Cinderella 2, I was like, okay, that's fine. But when I saw Cinderella 3, I was like, why wasn't this one the actual sequel? Why was this one number 3? Ugh. I don't know whose idea it was to make that the 3rd film. My guess is that they had 2 different stories that they wanted to use for a sequel, so they're like, okay, well, let's turn one into Cinderella 2 and then this one into Cinderella 3, see which one's better. In my opinion, A Twist in Time should have been, by far, the number 2 Cinderella film, because it's a lot better than you think. Here's the deal. So, obviously, Cinderella is in the castle with Prince Charming, or is this Prince Charming? Yeah, I think it's Prince Charming, and they're having a blast there, but the stepsisters and their mother are in this old house. Basically, it's their old house from the first movie, and it's all run down, and they're having to do all the chores because Cinderella's no longer their maid, and they're all upset. I think it's Anastasia. She finds the fairy godmother. She's able to acquire the wand from the fairy godmother, and they were able to, in a way, time travel back to the point when I forget what the character's name is, when that fella comes in with the slipper, and he's able to put the slipper on Cinderella. Well, it's actually the one that Cinderella had in her pocket. Well, they reversed it, and in a way, the stepmother turned Anastasia's foot a little bit smaller so that the slipper actually fit her foot, and she becomes basically the princess in the film for Prince Charming. And of course, Prince Charming sees her at first. He's like, oh, well, this isn't the same gal from before. Anyways, I don't want to give it all away, but it was just actually a lot better than the sequel, or the second Cinderella film, because it felt like it was the second story to Cinderella, the first movie that was released back in the 40s, I believe. No, actually the 50s. I just thought it was one of the better sequels for the Disney sequels for the animated features. And it's pretty good. You really do feel bad for Anastasia at certain points in the video, and you really have compassion for her. And let me just say, she's got an amazing voice. Wow. Alright, now let's move on to movie number 3. And this one happens to be a Pirates film. That's right. Arr! It's a Pirates sequel. Which one is it? Is it number 2, Dead Man's Chest? Or is it number 3, At World's End? Or number 4, On Stranger Tides? Well, I can't say number 5, Dim and Tindle Tales, because that hasn't been released yet. It happens to be Pirates of the Caribbean 3, At World's End. Yes, this one is by far the, I guess, second best Pirates film. I guess if you had to really categorize which films were better, like from least to great. I'd say number 2 is number 4. Then Stranger Tides was probably a good number 3. But At World's End's a good 2. Good number 2 spot for the first film, which was Pirates of the Caribbean 1, The Curse of the Black Pearl. But At World's End was a lot of fun because you got to see all the pirates fighting each other. It's basically like the whole cast from the Pirates 1 and 2 films, and it's really a lot of fun to see these guys go at each other to the death, basically. Although there is a little bit of a twist at the end, and I don't know if you guys have seen Pirates of the Caribbean 3. For those of you who haven't, I won't give it away, but there's some things that happen in the end that kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but still, it's a fun film. It's really action-packed. And in case you're wondering, Jack doesn't show up until like maybe 30 minutes into the movie. So it's going to be a while before you see Jack Sparrow, but still, it's a fun film. There are certain points in the movie where it might get a little bit too violent. Let's just put it that way. So just to let you guys know, if you have younger kids, to shield your eyes. It is PG-13, by the way. I could have easily gotten an R rating, but they toned it down such that it got a PG-13 rating, but oof. It got really close to a couple points. Actually, there are actually a couple of scenes from Pirates 4 that could have gotten an R rating too. So, you know, I don't know what the rating's going to be for Pirates 5, although that one's going to be probably a lot darker than the other films, at least in my opinion. So, we'll see. I think it's going to get a PG-13 rating, so we'll see. Anyways, Pirates of the Caribbean 3 is in the number 3 category, so there you go. Pirates of the Caribbean 3. I don't want to give anything away on that one, so let's move on to movie number 2, and that happens to be the sequel to Peter Pan, and yes, it's Peter Pan, Return to Neverland. Now, this was actually one of the only sequels that I remember that was actually released in the theaters, and I wanted to see this film so bad. Like, this was one of Disney's attempts to bring back some of the classic characters from their old Disney's past and put them back on the big screen and sequels. But my guess is that they weren't as successful as they wanted to be because they were sequels. They weren't the actual films. The characters obviously had their voices changed because they had different actors portraying them. Captain Hook, who is played by Corey Burton in this film, it sounds just like the original actor for Captain Hook. And, you know, it's fun to hear him, you know, blast you, Peter Pan! It's really a lot of fun. Of course, you see little Tinkerbell. In fact, Tinkerbell, here she is, right here. Little Tink, little pixie. And I'm actually a little upset because they were planning a figure for Peter Pan, but now that Disney Infinity is gone, it's not going to happen. So, Tink, you're all alone. Sorry. So, just to give you guys a little bit of a summary, the story takes place around World War II when the bombing of Britain happens, and Wendy is, of course, an adult. She has 2 kids, and Jane, who happens to be her daughter, has heard the stories from her mother. She's telling her little brother about the stories of Peter Pan, and for some reason, Captain Hook arrives at Jane's house. I was going to say Wendy's house, but they arrive at Jane's house and capture her, and they think it's Wendy, and then a whole fun and excitement ensues, and they literally think that it's Wendy at first, but then it's Jane. It's a fun sequel, and it does bring back a lot of memories of the old Peter Pan film. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this film, but they don't really have a big reference for the Indians in this movie. Yes, they do fly over the camp, but you don't actually see, like, Tiger Lily, or even the Chief for that matter, because there, I guess, were some issues in terms of how they portrayed the Indians in the first movie, and people weren't really happy about that one, so I guess they avoided the Indians in this film. I was kind of sad about that, because I would have liked to have seen Tiger Lily at least maybe one scene, but yeah, so the Indians were completely avoided, but the Lost Boys, the pirates, so were the mermaids, yeah, they actually made it into the film, believe it or not, but in this film, it's no longer the crocodile, it's actually a gigantic octopus. And some people were probably upset that the crocodile was no longer in the sequel. They actually made reference to the crocodile because the octopus had his eyes go kind of like a TikTok type reference to the crocodile, which, you know, it's okay, but it's not the same as the crocodile, obviously, because he didn't swallow a clock, right? But still, all in all, it was fun to see Peter Pan, and by the way, I love the soundtrack at the beginning of the film when they have the title sequence. You know, it's, oh my gosh, it is so cool. It sends chills down my spine just hearing that because I love that soundtrack. It's so awesome. So yes, Return to Neverland is in the number 2 spot on my top 5 favorite sequels for Disney films. And, alright, is that number 2 actually? Yeah, that's number 2. So now we're on to movie number 1. What is my top favorite sequel for the Disney films? Believe it or not, it does actually involve Pixar in this one. My number 1 favorite sequel happens to be Toy Story 2. This movie was by far one of the best sequels that I've seen in like a very long time, or I think will ever be released for Disney. Yes, I did mention that Lost in San Francisco is a good sequel. Well, I guess in my opinion, it's the best live-action sequel, but in my opinion, for a cartoon, the film for Disney happens to be Toy Story 2, and it does involve Pixar, as I said, and yes, I loved Toy Story 2. In fact, I saw it at the El Capitan Theater over in Hollywood with my folks, and I actually brought with me my original Buzz and Woody toys from Toy Story 1. Yes, you're looking at the first generation of Buzz and Woody toys. I don't know exactly where his hat went, so I think it's out in the garage. But yes, these are my original Woody and Buzz toys. I took them with me into the theater. I sat there in the seat, and I was cuddling them like this as we watched the movie. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like Andy, literally, because I had them both with me. And I got a lot of attention with these guys in the theater. It was a lot of fun, and let me just say that it was fun to see the characters on the big screen. I was shocked when I saw Buzz get destroyed by Zurg in the beginning, but thankfully it was just a game. Whew, saved me from a heart attack. But yeah, it was a fun film. Great sequel. One of the best sequels that Pixar has actually produced. I am looking forward to The Incredibles 2, by the way, and I know that they're actually bringing it out a year ahead of schedule. I think it's in 2018 where they're bringing out Incredibles 2, but they pushed back the Toy Story 4 film to 2019. So a little bit of a year change, but still, that's one more year closer to the actual due date for The Incredibles 2. I'm looking forward to it. I was so hoping they would make an Incredibles 2, and they're finally making one. And I still haven't seen the sequel for Finding Dory, so that's why that movie's not in this list. But yes, I am so looking forward to the Incredibles 2 film. I think it's going to be awesome. By the way, there was a lot of publicity for Toy Story 2. There was such big hype, and I think it was well met. It was well loved. It was one of the better sequels that Pixar has released. In fact, I actually released a video not too long ago about my whole collection of McDonald's Happy Meal toys from Toy Story 2. If you guys want to check that video out, check out the annotation down below in the description of this video. And yes, I actually collected the entire collection of Toy Story 2 Happy Meal toys. I didn't get the candy toys. They had this other selection of toys that were featured as like another option that you can get that were like candy dispensers, but I didn't get those. I just got the Happy Meal toys. And yes, I did get every single Happy Meals toy from Toy Story 2 from McDonald's. And Burger King, believe it or not, but that's from Toy Story 1. That's for another story for another time. Well, there you go, you guys. Those are my top 5 favorite sequels from Disney. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, favorite the video, share it with your friends, and of course, come here, you. And of course, subscribe to my channel, the Disneyland Video Series. It is greatly appreciated. By the way, what are your favorite Disney sequels? Let me know in the comments section down below. There is actually one film that I wanted to mention in this list, but I wasn't able to fit it. I would say that it would probably be number 6 in my top 10 favorite sequels. That, of course, would be Tron Legacy. And I just found out that we may be getting Tron 3. So, yeah, we're probably going to get another Tron film. In fact, that was one of the reasons why they released Korra and Sam Flynn here for the Disney Infinity series, because technically they were planning on Tron 3, but they canceled it. Now they're bringing it back, so let's hope that they're making Tron 3, because I would love to see it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope your day was a magical one. Bye! Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more Disneyland fun. Check out the playlist provided on the end slate. Be sure to check out my other channels. And don't forget to follow my Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope your day was a magical one.